let me tell you something real. There are people walking this earth who smile with you, shake your hand, maybe even share a prayer with you. And they've already completely given their spirit over to darkness. I'm not talking about make believe. I'm talking about pure badness covered up by charm, trickery that looks like it's being righteous. And I want you to listen very closely, because this is not about melodrama. No, this is about seeing things clearly. There is a moment where something changes deep inside a person. See, most folks think that self-love is just about being full of yourself, being too focused on appearance, someone always checking their reflection, always talking about only themselves. That's just on the surface. That's what you notice when you're having dinner together. But there is a form of self-love called disturbing unfeeling that goes much deeper. And you won't recognize it until it's far too late. Because by the time you realize what's truly happening, you're already caught up in it. You're trapped in something that feels like being adored, but it actually feeds on your misery. It begins quickly. A look, a remark, a small instant where they show you what you mean to them, and it feels incredibly good. So good, because they are experts at mirroring your inner self. They watch you, studying you like a hunter in the quiet. They pay attention to how you speak about your hard times, your deep fears, the hurts from your younger years. They nod like they truly understand, like they've been through the same thing. And maybe for a split second, you believe you've finally found someone who understands you at a much deeper level. But what they are actually doing is gathering weapons. They are keeping it in their mind for when they will need it later. Because to a deeply self-absorbed person who has given themselves over to the dark side, your kindness, your care isn't something to be respected. It's just a tool to be used against you. They know exactly how to turn on the tears instantly. They know how to break down and act like they are the one who has been hurt. They know how to twist every argument into a sad tale about how difficult their life has been. And you, being the truly compassionate person, being the one with a good heart, you back off, you soften your stance, you think, maybe I'm being too harsh on them. And just like that, they have completely disarmed you. They've taken your goodness and turned it against you like a sharp blade. You start to notice a pattern. The apologies do not change the hurtful actions. The promises do not stop the breaking of trust. But every time you try to finally walk away, they pull you back in with just enough false sadness to keep your hopes up. And that is the secret. They do not need to keep you happy. They only need to keep you dependent. They give you just a little bit of caring, just enough praise to make you doubt your own common sense. And in the moments when you are feeling the worst, when your spirit is completely open and hurting, they attack, not with physical force, but with words, with a cold silence, with pulling away, with clever tricks so sharp you don't even know you've been wounded until you are bleeding out on an emotional and spiritual level. It's one thing to simply not feel for others. It's a different thing entirely to recognize that feeling in others and actively take advantage of it. That is what separates a person who is merely selfish from one who is truly evil. Because the selfish person might hurt you by accident, but the evil person does it with careful planning. They know which buttons to press. They know exactly when you are most easily hurt. They sense it. They wait for it. And then they pounce quickly. You come to them with tears. They look at you with no feeling. You talk about a deeply personal trauma. They nod. Then they use that very thing to wound you in a later fight. You tell them your biggest fear. One day when they are angry, they use it against you like a weapon. That is not just a mistake made by a human. That is spiritual rot. That is the sign of someone who no longer sees other people as human beings, but as objects, playthings, things to step on to get to their own feeling of power. They will destroy your heart and then accuse you of making the mess. They'll hurt you, then stand over your sadness and call you too sensitive, too dramatic, too ruled by your emotions. And what is most scary is how good they are at keeping their nice front up in public. These are not monsters who show their sharp teeth to everyone. No, they are charming, refined, respected, the kind of person others say is so kind or so misunderstood. And that only makes your pain feel more lonely. Because when you try to tell the honest truth, no one believes a word you say. You sound completely unhinged. You sound hateful. But that is only because the world has seen their performance, not the terrible truth behind the scenes. When a person with extreme self-absorption gives in to evil, they learn to feed off the very thing that once made them human. Your love becomes their fuel. Your hope becomes the way they control you, and your natural kindness, that becomes their protection and their weapon. They will manipulate it so skillfully, you'll start to question if you are mentally stable. Maybe I really did make them mad. Maybe I am being unfair. Maybe I expect too much. But those thoughts did not come from your own mind. They were planted, whispered, carefully put there. That is not adoration. That is a form of deep psychological conflict. And what is truly frightening is that they do it with zero regret, zero remorse. In fact, the more pain you are in, the more powerful they actually feel. Or there is a quiet feeling of accomplishment in their gaze when you are completely falling apart. And if you ever notice it, if you ever catch that quick flash of enjoyment when you cry, that slight smile when you break down, then you have truly seen it. You have seen the evil, because there is no joy in the suffering of someone you genuinely care about. Absolutely none. But to them, your suffering is proof that they are in charge, that they can still change your feelings, that they still own a small piece of your inner self. This is how they work. They do not go for the strong people. They go for the kind people, the caring people, the gentle-hearted people. They do not need to hurt your body. They want to destroy your spirit. And they will use your own good nature to do it. You'll start to feel like you are walking on glass. Like any wrong word might set off a huge outburst, or even worse, a cold silence that lasts for many days. And the most awful part is you will keep trying harder and harder. You'll keep giving them more. You'll over-explain, over-apologize, overcompensate, believing that if you can just be flawless, you can somehow fix the whole thing. But the finish line will always keep moving, because it was never about true affection. It was never about a real bond. It was about dominance, complete control, feeding a hole so deep they would rather completely use you up than look at their own issues. People like this do not just cause pain to others. They drain all the life out of them, and they do it slowly with a clear plan. So you don't even realize it's occurring until all the harm is complete. Until the person you used to be is a complete stranger staring back in the reflection. Until your inner light is dimmed, your true voice is gone, and your kindness, which was once your best trait, feels like your greatest weakness. That is how unsettling it is when a self-absorbed person fully gives themselves over to evil. It is not loud. It is not obvious. It is not physically harmful. It is quiet. It is carefully planned. It is emotional torment hidden behind a completely fake smile. There is a special kind of darkness that appears when someone doesn't just tell lies, but lives completely within those lies, breathes in those lies, and actually thrives on those lies. I'm not talking about a harmless fib, the kind we all say now and then to avoid hurting someone's feelings. I'm talking about something very harmful, something totally deliberate. When a self-absorbed person has fully crossed that line into being evil, the truth is no longer just slightly difficult. It becomes their enemy, and they will bend, twist, and completely shatter it whenever they want until up feels like down and wrong feels like right. They do not lie like most people do. They don't accidentally slip up or try to hide a simple error. No, this particular kind of dishonesty is methodical, surgically precise. They do not just tell you what you want to hear. They tell you exactly what they absolutely need you to believe. They lie to make you confused. They lie to make you feel completely alone. They lie to keep you under their command. And what makes them so incredibly threatening is how completely convincing they are when they do it. They do not even blink. They do not stop for a second. They will look you right in the eye and lie so smoothly, so easily that you start to wonder if you are the one losing your grip on reality. At first, belief, it might be small things, minor differences, a story that does not quite make sense, a slight change in their mood. You catch it, but you just brush it aside. Maybe I didn't hear them right. Maybe I simply forgot. That is the very beginning. That is the bad seed they plant. Because what they are doing is not just lying. They are creating a brand new version of reality, one small piece at a time, very slowly. And you are stuck inside it. You are actually living in it. You tell them you remember something very clearly. They say that event absolutely never took place. You recall a discussion word for word. They say you are just making things up. And the harder you try to hold on to what is real, the further they pull you away from it. They do not argue with the facts. They simply rewrite the facts. Belief, and they do it with a calm, even tone, as if you are the one who is blowing everything out of proportion. That is a major part of the trap. They do not get angry. They do not shout. They manipulate you gently, quietly, until your own memories become something you cannot trust. As time goes by, this mental fogginess fully sets in. You no longer know what is truly real. You start writing things down, constantly checking old messages, doubting every single conversation, not because you are overly paranoid, but because they have made you feel like you absolutely must. That is how they win in the end, not with raw force, but by making you give up on your own common sense. And here is the truly terrifying part. They do it not just to keep the truth hidden, but to completely replace it with their version. They construct a version of events where they are always the poor victim, always the brave hero, never the one to blame. If they are unfaithful, leave. It is because you were not paying them enough attention. If they are dishonest, it is because you could not handle the real facts. They twist the entire story until every wrong thing they do becomes your fault. And when you try to make them take responsibility, they call you crazy over the top two ruled by your feelings. You end up saying sorry for things you did not even do while they walk away without a scratch. This is not just simply making you question your sanity. This is spiritual warfare. It is a full attack on your mental state, your clarity, your very understanding of the world around you. They want to completely control your reality because that is how they keep their power. If they can make you doubt what is real, they can force you to rely on them to tell you what is real. And once they have you in that difficult place where you are doubting your instincts, your memory, your mind itself, they own you entirely. They'll use their charm when they need it, their anger when it serves them, tears if that is what is required. They wear many masks, a whole variety of them, and they switch them out easily depending on who is standing there. Around friends and family, they are the very definition of grace. The loving significant other, the misunderstood soul. But when the doors are closed, the mask completely falls away, and what you see is cold, carefully planned deception. And if you ever try to reveal their true nature, they have already prepared the ground to make you look mentally unstable. They have already told other people how deeply concerned they are about your mental health, how difficult you have recently become. They plant negative ideas in people's minds so that when you finally speak the truth, absolutely no one believes you. You become the angry one, the hateful one, the one with serious problems, and they remain completely untouchable. They do not just lie to protect themselves. They lie to make themselves seem better. They create grand stories where they are the ultimate savior, the genius, the martyr. They will tell people you were toxic, abusive, unstable, all while they were the ones controlling everything, hurting you, pushing you to the breaking point. And people actually believe them because they are that convincing. That is what makes them so chillingly effective. They are not awkward manipulators. They are masters of the craft, polished, totally believable, and by the time you fully realize what they have accomplished, the permanent damage is already done. And what they are doing to you, they will also do to other people, because this is not just a brief phase or a way to protect themselves. It is a full-blown strategy, a system, a whole way of life. They do not just manipulate the actual truth, they manipulate the entire idea of truth. They turn it into a weapon. They twist it. And if you try to confront them with genuine facts, they will completely drown you in lies. They will deny, shift the blame, change the subject. 1 minute you are asking a simple question like, why did you lie to me? And the next you are defending the tone of your voice, your general attitude, your whole character. The original important issue gets completely buried under a huge pile of confusion, and they walk away without a single mark. You find yourself having the exact same conversations again and again, desperately trying to make sense of the contradictions, trying to hold on to the truth like it is something totally slippery. That is not an accident. That is by careful design. Because the more time you spend desperately chasing clarity, the less time you spend finding a way to escape their firm grip. That is their whole objective. Confuse, distract, because delays, deny everything. And deep down inside, they know exactly what they are doing. They know they are lying. They know they are manipulating, but they simply do not care. Or even worse, they actually enjoy it. It gives them a feeling of being above others, of extreme power, of total control. And if you ever manage to finally break free, they will not stop there. They will continue lying about you, keep trying to damage your good reputation, because the truth, your truth, is their biggest enemy. Now that you have seen behind the curtain, that makes you a major threat. You will try to tell people what truly happened, and some will not believe you because the truly self-absorbed person has already acted their part flawlessly. They have shed tears in the perfect moments, complimented the right people. They have built an image that is so completely convincing that your real story sounds completely unbelievable. That is a major part of the pain, not just what they did to you, but how the entire world sees them after the fact. How they get to walk away clean while you are left holding all the broken pieces. That is the reality of dealing with a person who does not just lie, but makes lying a terrifying art form. They do not care about what is real. They care about their public image. They care about how they are viewed. They care about winning. And in their own damaged mind, if they can change reality to work in their favor, then they have been victorious. There is something truly unsettling that happens when a person, a human being with a face and a name and a voice, starts to take genuine pleasure, not just in being in charge, not just in being proven right, but in seeing another person's spirit suffer deeply. That is no longer just simply extreme self-absorption. That is no longer just being arrogant or overly proud or having a wounded ego. That is when something much darker has firmly taken root, something cruel, something monstrous, something that has fully crossed a spiritual line. Because when a self-absorbed person begins to genuinely enjoy your pain, to feed off your tears, that is when you are not just dealing with a psychological condition. You are looking pure evil directly in the face. And the most terrifying part is that it does not always look like what you might expect. It is not always extremely loud. It is not always physically violent. That sometimes it shows up as a low whisper, a slight smile, a cold content stare when you have completely fallen apart. You might be crying openly, begging for it to stop, shaking badly, and they are just simply watching completely calm and totally still. That is not just simple indifference. That is pure delight. That is the enjoyment of causing pain covered up by a false smile. They hurt you, then they watch closely how far down you will sink. And instead of feeling any regret, they feel a rush of power. They feel completely justified because in their own twisted mind, your suffering confirms their value. It tells them that they matter, that they have left a mark, that they still have a grip on your feelings. And they need that control like an addiction. They crave that power because in their own fundamental brokenness, in their deep emptiness, your pain becomes the proof that they are still relevant. So they pick at the wound over and over again just to see how you will react. Won't strike you with their hands. Absolutely not. They are much more skilled than that. They will use total silence, pure indifference, open mockery. They will hold back any affection, any attention, any basic kindness. Then they will sit back and watch you tie yourself in painful knots, desperately trying to understand why, trying to fix the problem. They absolutely will not comfort you because that would completely ruin their show. But they want you totally broken. That is the performance they came to witness. You will notice it in the way they intentionally try to provoke you. You will be having a completely normal day, maybe even a good one, and then suddenly they drop a word, a quick comment, a specific look, and it cuts you to your core. Because it is not random chance. It is specifically designed, carefully engineered, perfectly tailored to your most specific weaknesses. They know exactly what will hurt you the most. And they will deliver it like a knife being slid between your ribs. Then they will act completely surprised. What? I was only being truthful. Or even worse, they will tell you that you are making a big deal out of nothing. And that is when you start to feel completely insane. Because how do you even begin to explain the feeling of someone enjoying your pain when everything they do can technically be denied? But you know the truth. You feel it deep inside. You see it in their eyes and the way their head tilts ever so slightly when you start to cry. And the way their mouth curves just a little when you finally completely break down. That is not sympathy. That is not concern. That is pure satisfaction. They are drinking it all in. And the more you fall apart, the stronger they feel. They will slowly tear at yourself. Respect like birds of prey on a dead body. They will constantly bring up your past mistakes, your failures, your defects. And they will not do it to help you improve. They do it to watch you shrink down. They do it to constantly remind you that you will absolutely never be good enough for them. And when you finally react, when you stand up for yourself, when you push back, they get even more of that sick satisfaction because now they have exactly what they wanted. Your intense energy, your full attention, your deep suffering, that is the toxic fuel that keeps them warm when they are alone at night. And do not believe for a second that it stops once you have left. Oh no, even after the relationship has completely ended, even after you manage to walk away, they will still look for any sign that you are hurting. They will constantly check your social media profiles. They will question mutual friends. They will find many ways to spread false rumors just to get a reaction, just to see if they can still cause problems from a distance. Because your inner peace, your process of healing, that is their biggest threat. They do not want you to get better. They want you to stay angry and upset, because being upset means you are still completely tied to them. They possess this strange ability to instantly recognize when someone is feeling vulnerable. And they focus on that vulnerability like a hungry hawk spotting its next meal. They will give you compliments at first, make you feel special, like you are truly needed, like you are completely seen. But the instant you let down your emotional shield, the switch completely flips. Now they begin testing all your boundaries. They start to see just how much total disrespect you will tolerate. And if you stand firm for yourself, that is when the serious manipulation games start. They will begin to punish you in subtle, painful ways. They will withhold all affection, give you the cold, silent treatment, openly flirt with other people right in front of you. They will do things purely to trigger a strong reaction. Then they will act completely innocent when you call them out on it. And when you finally lose control, when all your pain spills out in the open, they will act like you are the actual problem, like you are completely unstable, overly emotional, absolutely crazy. But that was the whole goal from the very beginning, to draw out all your anguish to watch it dramatically unfold. Because to them, your complete breakdown is pure entertainment. They may even go even further, completely ruining your job, turning all your friends against you, spreading terrible lies to your own family. And they will do all of it while smiling, pretending they are simply telling the truth or looking out for your best interests. But what they are truly doing is setting your whole life on fire and then watching from the shadows to see just how long it takes for you to burn completely. This is not just random cruelty. It is carefully calculated. And the main reason it is so difficult to explain to other people is because self-absorbed people like this do not act out of a sudden urge. That they act out of a clear intention. They know exactly what they are doing. And if they have truly given themselves over to the evil inside, they do not just find a reason for your suffering. They openly celebrate it. And it gets even more difficult to deal with, because they will often surround themselves with people who support their bad behavior, people who deeply admire them, defend them constantly, and praise them endlessly. And when you try to speak your honest truth, those supporters become yet another source of pain. Because now, not only are you dealing with the intense pain they caused, but also with the total disbelief and feeling of betrayal from everyone else. They would never do that. You are just being dramatic. That is what you will constantly hear. And that is precisely what they want. They want to see you completely isolated, totally alienated, completely alone. They want you to feel like your pain does not even matter, that no one believes a word you say. Because in that deep silence, in that painful loneliness, they actually become much stronger. They do not need you to love them anymore. Not at all. What they absolutely need is to see you suffer for daring to stand up to them, or for daring to see through their facade, for daring to finally heal. And that is when the true painful cruelty begins. When you have finally moved on, When you have started to rebuild your life, when you start to shine brightly again, they will come back. Not to apologize, not to change their ways, but to disrupt your peace, to create total chaos, to constantly remind you that they still exist, that they still have a tiny bit of access to you. Belief that they still know exactly how to cause you pain, because pain is their most valuable currency. It is what makes them feel truly alive. And the most dangerous type of self-absorbed person is not the one who merely uses you. They are the one who actually enjoys completely destroying you. So now you can clearly see it. This is not just all about their ego. This is not simply about pride or pure selfishness. This is about something far more dangerous, something that moves with a clear intention, something that destroys without a single feeling of guilt, something that feeds on pure control, deep deception, and constant suffering. When a deeply self-absorbed person fully crosses that invisible line and gives themselves over to evil, they do not just hurt people. They completely consume them. They lie without any shame, manipulate without a shred of mercy, and find twisted joy in the total wreckage they leave behind. And if you are currently in the path of that terrible storm, if you have looked deeply into those vacant eyes and see nothing at all looking back at you, you already know the painful truth. This is not just simply a psychological issue. This is spiritual warfare. This is a battle for your own mind, your identity, your very soul. And the only way to get out is by holding on to the truth through total clarity, through immense courage. Believe you cannot love the evil out of a person who actually enjoys watching you suffer. You cannot reason logically with a person who constantly rewrites basic reality. You cannot truly heal in a place that was specifically designed to utterly break you. So you must stand firm. Stand firm in your truth. Stand firm in your worth. And when the mask eventually slips, when the charm completely fades, when the constant lies finally crumble, do not ever look back. Because anyone who finds enjoyment in your pain, who thrives on your total confusion, who dances in their mind while you are slowly drowning, that person has already chosen a side, and it is absolutely not yours. Walk away and heal completely, and never, ever forget what you clearly saw when the mask finally came off.